All right. Welcome to the latest edition of Ragic Office Hour. And we have only a couple of questions, so this should be a fairly quick session. All right, first question. Documented updates. Myself and a coworker both build our projects in Ragic, but we work independently on different projects. We joke all the time about scheduling a weekly or bi-weekly Ragic hour so we can share about new things and features we stumble upon while working in Ragic. I know you post things in the What's New area of Ragic a couple of times a month, but those posts don't cover all the updates happening each week as you release system updates. Are there weekly release notes published somewhere? Have you ever thought about doing a weekly recap on YouTube channel over to cover what's new this week? That's actually a pretty good idea. I think that's something that we can definitely do on the bi-weekly Ragic office hour to cover the new items that's the new features and the new things that's been introduced in the past week. So past 2 weeks actually. So yeah, I think that's something that we could definitely do. So yeah, I think I might need a little bit of time to prepare for that, but I think at least we should be able to, start from the next Ragic office hour session to do something like this. So yeah, thank you for the suggestion. I do think we would definitely want to do something like this. Yeah, relative weekly update, and so generally on each of those weekly updates, um, most of the times it will contain some sort of new feature or some enhancements to existing features. So yeah, I do think it could be a good idea for us to talk about the new changes on the Ragic office hour session. Yeah, thanks. I'll start doing um, weekly recap on new features. Ragic new features starting the webinar next week. All right. Yeah, I'll need to kind of prepare a little bit of notes on the most recent changes. And yeah, we don't really have a release note for the weekly changes. Each of the weekly changes, generally we will have around 30 to 50, we call it IDs that like Jira IDs. Well, we don't use Jira, we use Ragic to manage those and issues and enhancements. But we generally have like 30 to 50 these kind of changes, updates. And it will be hard to cover each and every one of them, and there's pretty much no need to do that because a lot of them are like small fixes like text change or bug fixes. But if there's anything that somebody might want to know, and I will be I think it would be a good idea to cover that on the biweekly Ragic office hour. And for bigger changes, of course, I think we will still use the what's new on the Learn Ragic section so that we can so that everybody who's not even um, attending the Ragic webinars will be able to have a good idea on the important new features and changes to Ragic. Yeah, I think we can cover the latest changes on the what's new section also. Yeah, like for this is a new formula that you could use in your formula. But still, I'm not on top of every single changes. For me to cover them on Ragic Office Hour, I will need a little bit of time to kind of prepare and maybe do a small demo on the new changes. All right. Okay, next question. Error on Formula AI. Is there any tips on writing prompt when using the formula generator? I get a lot of oops, please change the rules, etc., etc. I already try to be as specific and as clear as possible. Um, Personally, I've used the formula generator. Well, actually, I tested the formula generator quite a few times, and I didn't notice that it gives me a lot of oops, please change the rules. So hmm, it it would be it would be a good idea to have a to know what kind of prompts that you've been entering, because for most of the generative AI features, it's how do you write those prompts is really essential in how well the AI works for you. So it's kind of there. Of course, there will be a lot of tricks in how to write these kind of prompts, but yeah, I will need to have to kind of know what kind of prompts that you're currently using to give you an idea on how to change it. So yeah, the general rule of thumb is just as you said, is to be more specific and as clear. And other tips that you might be able to take advantage of is to provide examples. So generally, generative AI, if you give them strict definitions of like what you want them to do, um, in a lot of cases that will work. But in some cases, it's very hard to give a very clear and specific definition. But if you're able to give it an example, like add a paragraph or two on the example to give it an example like what you're trying to achieve, and sometimes that will help the generative AI on helping you get what you really want to achieve. So giving an example would definitely help in a lot of cases to describe what kind of formula that you would like to generate. Okay. You will be helpful if I can see the prompt that you're using that's not working out in Ragic-AI form. Generate should be able to help prompt. Okay, secondly, if possible, adding an example to the prompt. Almost generative uses examples to understand what the user is trying to. Yeah. So yeah, that's basically my suggestion on using features, involving these kind of generative AI. I think right now our formula generator, the back end of the formula generator is GPT-4o. So yeah, just in case you're wondering, so from our experience using like GPT or the more specific model GPT-4o, and yeah, they're usually pretty good at understanding what you're doing, even if you're describing them in an abstract way. But if you can give it an example, usually it will really nail the specifics of what you would like to achieve, or even if there are some missing links in your specification, in your technical description, but usually, with an example, it's gonna be, it will be able to fill the gap of what you're trying to say, especially if the formula you're trying to generate is really complex and has a lot of different business rules. All right, and that's it for the questions for today. So thank you for joining in on the Ragic Office Hour session. And if you have any other questions, feel free to use the Office Hour question sheet, and I will be answering them in 2 weeks. All right, see you.